I'm now recording. I'm going to stop my video for the moment because I have to take care of biological issues. But I'll let you all start the discussion. And I do have a gallery, picture gallery that I did right before we came on. So we can look at that in a little bit.
Okay, so, oh, he's got it on his screen. All right, well, so Denise, I do have a lot of notes. I read the whole thing in Rachel Pollack's Tarot Wisdom. My friend tried to find this book. He's in our group at half price. They said it can't be found in the whole state of Texas. So if people want it, we need to tell them to get it on Amazon because that's about the only place we can get it.
Okay.
But I did all the reading in there. I made notes in my book. I made notes in my journal. And I took some reading out of a couple other tarot books. And I'm hoping that I can make heads or tails, but I do have her book open out of what I wrote.
That's what I need to go. Let me go get that real quick. That's what I was missing. I moved everything over here and I forgot.
I think we should like stop recording. I know he's not here to do that and then restart again.
I don't know that you can.
No, he might be able to. You're so pretty, Denise.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Hold on. I can pause the recording. Hold on. Let me.
Sorry. Oh, that's so funny. And people who are watching this video might think we're just nuts.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why we need to edit this part out.
Well, no, this makes it more human and whatnot. And maybe we'll get more followers. We'll get more,
Okay.
But anyway, I'm gonna pause the recording and
yeah, because it would come out differently.
Yeah, because in other words, yeah, let's say you flip over 3 cards and let's say you're using a 3-card past, well,
right.
That wouldn't be the best. Here's a good one. What I think is happening, what's really happening, and then the 3rd card could be, and what, if anything, can I do about it? Right. So let's say you use that simple 3-card spread. When I use that spread, when I get really, I'm really upset and I really know that I'm not really kind of connecting intuitively, that helps me to kind of clarify what's happening.
What's really happening, what you think is happening, and what's the 3rd one?
Well, the first one is, what do you think is happening? This is what you think is happening. You can just you can do either one. It'd be fine. What's really happening.
Okay.
And then what you can do about it if you choose to do something about it, right? That's kind of clunky or wordy, but I think you catch my drift. And I was having some hurt feelings about something yesterday. Lindsay Mack also espouses that there are very popular ideas about the tarot that say you have to be centered. You have got to have, all your candles lit. You have to have a whole ritual going on before you engage the tarot. And her argument is like, no, when you start thinking about the tarot as medicine or a vehicle for healing, then it allows you to show up and be with the tarot regardless of your state, which I think is a really helpful way, because can you imagine? I'm going to wait until everything is just perfect and I'm right and I'm in alignment and my tuition's on and all this kind of stuff. You would never read the damn cards, right? You'd never get around to it. At least I wouldn't, right? So I found that to be really, really helpful, right? Because it tells me that, yeah, you can show up messy and that you can trust the tarot enough to be able to reflect back to you what it is that you need. What's that medicine that you need in that moment? So this is why she uses medicine, right? It's healing, it's therapeutic. So getting back to that 3-card spread that I was talking about, when I was having some hurt feelings, I said, you know what? If you let these hurt feelings kind of take over and you continue sort of massaging them or, letting them really kind of distort your thinking about the situation or whatever, that's not going to be good for anybody. So I went and I said, I'm going to do what she suggests, which is to show up as you are with the tarot. And that's what I did. And the first card came up and I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I think is going on, right? In that position, that's exactly it. And then the card that came up, the first card was a 7 of Swords, right? So it's like, okay. The second card that came up was the 5 of Cups. And then the third card that came up was the Queen of Pentacles. Now remember, the 5 of Cups is 3 of those cups have spilled their contents, and there's 2 cups. And the 5 of Cups in I was using a different deck, actually shows the middle, the figure, not off to the side the way sort of the Rider-Waite does, you know, and you can see can see the cups there. And then you've got those 2 cups over here kind of on the hill or whatever behind. Literally in this other deck that I was using, you had the figure with his back. So we could see the figure's back and then the 2 cups standing. So the person wasn't even able to see what was left, what good things were there. Why are you focused on that which spilled out of the goblet, right? All of that. And then the Queen of Pentacles was basically, essentially, it's like, you know, be a little more rational, be a little more loving, be a little more stable and grounded, be all of these kinds of things to help kind of transform, essentially. Now, can I do it just that quickly? No, that's not, that I can't. That's not really how I'm built. But can I lean into that now that I've received that as medicine from the tarot, and allow myself to lean in and lean in and lean in and lean in and lean in? Yes, I can do that. And then eventually it took almost a little over about 15 hours to finally fully release that, right?
That's pretty quickly though. I mean,
Yeah.
15 hours is
Yeah.
pretty quickly. Yeah.
Well, 15 waking hours, I should say, because there was some sleep in there. So, you know, I slept. So if we throw in our you know, time that I was asleep. And I found it beautifully helpful, right? I found it beautifully helpful. And it was more helpful to think about it from that perspective that she's talking about than what I've done in the past, right? And I've been, you know, we've been reading cards for a long time. What I did in the past was, you know, I read and like, what is really going on? And you have a ton of readers on YouTube, for example, who are all like, here's what they're thinking about you right now, you know, and that's fun, but it's not necessarily always fun when you're in a state. You know what I mean? So if you are kind of wobbly about something emotionally, that may not be the healthiest thing to kind of watch in that moment. So I, you know, and I'm not like judging anyone else. I'm talking about myself and my own personal actions, right?
Right.
And so there's a way in which I can see now. I couldn't have seen it 25 years ago, but now I can see 25 years ago. But that feels like forever ago. But now I can see that sometimes you need this approach. Other times you need this approach.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I feel
Yeah.
like I don't do it one of those 2 ways. I feel like I do it both of those ways.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way, right? There's that other possibility where you can blend the two, right? Because
Maybe not all in one reading, but I'm using it both ways. But to me, from my perception of reality, I'm not doing it 2 different ways. I'm just doing it.
right. Yeah, it's sort of like that's how you do it, and then somebody comes along and says, "Oh, did you realize you were doing this thing that like blah blah blah?" Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I think it was really, but I often wonder, because I think that's part of that journey with the tarot sometimes, or any divination, any oracle, any kind of divination tool, which is for some people, the allure of the tarot is, I mean, how many times early on when I read for people, and I'm like, oh, and the final outcome using a Celtic cross spread was like, and a final outcome is, don't be surprised if there's a lawsuit that comes down around this, right? And then lo and behold, 2 weeks later, there's a lawsuit that comes down around it. You know, it comes around this, right? And people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how accurate this reading was. You were able to kind of do these kinds of things, right? There's real power in that, I think, which is to sit back and the number of people who've gone off and then purchased their own tarot decks as a result. That's what happened with me. That's what introduced me to the tarot. Was a really skilled reader was able to read for me, and I was like, right? I was like, whoa, I really need to be. I need to look into this a little bit more and maybe take this more seriously. So it's a powerful tool. It brings a lot of folks in because there's an accuracy that comes with, and I say accuracy as if it's not accurate. I mean, there is an accuracy. It has that ability to be able to do that. And whether that's people being influenced by, well, that example of the lawsuit, I don't think this person wasn't directly involved in the lawsuit, but worked for an office where that eventually came about. So there was already a whole bunch of stuff moving in that direction, right? Of course it was probably going to result in a lawsuit. But anyway, I mean, I guess it gets me thinking about the nuances of these different approaches. Yeah, because she's the first one I've ever really encountered that was like, oh no, yeah, and she's a pretty strong voice. So if you do choose to read it, it's a really short little blog post that she has. It's just like 3 paragraphs, just to get a flavor for her. And then she does teach. So she teaches this approach of this. She calls it Soul Tarot. And I have a couple of her courses, 2 of her little mini courses. And by mini, it's more like a workshop. I shouldn't call it a course. It's more like a workshop. That's about 3 hours. Each of them are about 3 hours in length, and they're right at about $33. So you're talking right at $11. Plus you get a workbook, a PDF workbook, and you have access to these materials forever, right? So she's really interesting. She's a really interesting gal. And I think her work is resonating with me right now. And I think decks like this really do kind of,
Well, I ordered mine too, so.
It's a beautiful deck. Oh my gosh, I love it.
I will say that the strength card on the So Below was another card that is a picture of CJ. Like,
did you put it in the gallery?
Yes, I did.
Oh, let's get to the gallery.
Let's hop into the gallery because, hey, you guys, it's almost 9 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, we should get to that then.
Here, I'll pull up, let's see. Let me screen share.
You can screen share and we can see that, and then.
Okay, so this is our traditional.
Yes, more traditional to the less traditional.
This is very traditional, but it's Hercules and the Nemean lion. They just made him male, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But CJ, do you remember in the
Llewellyn?
In Rachel Pollack when she's talking about the lion's mouth,
yeah, I have all my notes here.
Yeah, the relationship between the woman and the lion.
So it's about the lion being a big pussycat, and the strength is not in the lion. The strength is in the woman, and the lion might as well be wearing ribbons in his hair and a pink sweater and whatnot, because it's about that controlled, very compassionate, controlled force from within your inner strength, where you need to tame, so to speak, whatever it is, or come with this bravery and this courage in front of what intimidates you.
Yeah, that really comes through in this card, in the Llewellyn card, because she's basically in a trance, like she's connecting with the divine, and the lion's raging, but she's like
and look at her face.
I know, yeah.
She's in meditation there.
Yep.
And that's the only way to access that inner strength is through a practice similar or like meditation.
Well, Bruce Lee said, "Be like water." That was Bruce Lee's statement.
Right.
And I think, and you can see that that's kind of, that's basically the state that she's in. Let's see, moving on.
Well, let's look at, hold on, I didn't look at all three. I'm trying to
Oh.
figure out a way, guys. For some reason, the screen share is not doing, hold on, maybe if I do this. That's better, okay.
And this PDF is also in our group on Facebook.
So, okay, so I like the middle card. What deck is the middle card?
That's Robin Wood. And
I love Robin Wood's deck.
Robin-
Is that still available?
yes, it
Yeah.
is. It's about, I want to say Amazon has her for 20,
Okay.
maybe a little less.
So
It used to be $10 back in the day. I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's when I
yeah.
bought it.
yeah,
So
exactly.
speak to the third card. So the middle card is very much like the first card, but the third card is extremely different. At first, we have a man instead of a woman, and we have him instead of like, he's
choking the lion out is what he's
like,
doing.
and he's got his knife on the ground, his sword, and there's
Mhm.
blood. I see blood.
It's
and the-
Hercules.
And the face
Yeah.
of the lion looks not even fierce. It looks almost baby-like.
Well, that, yeah, and I don't know what to make of the baby face of the lion, except for like your comment about the pussycat. But the man is Hercules, and it's one of the labors of Hercules. It's the Hercules versus the Nemean lion. That's from the Mythic Tarot.
And is Hercules always with strength?
I mean, that's his like attribute, right? Is his strength.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, and in the myth cycles, he's maybe not always super bright. And you know, that's kind of ironic because, you know, Kevin Sorbo, you know, came out as this like hardcore conspiracy theorist supporter guy, and you know, and Lucy Lawless had to school him on it on Twitter. So but anyway, I mean, I don't mean to say Hercules isn't too bright, but he's not Odysseus, right? Odysseus is cunning versus Hercules being, you know, overtly strong. Now, what I like about
go ahead.
What I like about the center card here, and this is very Robin Wood, is that this woman is like almost mischievous, like the look on her face.
See, and I didn't even get that part, but I was looking at the flowers in the mane of the lion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Almost like where Rachel Pollack was talking about a pink sweater and ribbons in the mane, or whatever she said.
Yeah.
And like, then all the flowers are like in her skirt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like she's tamed a lion so much that she can sit there and place flowers in the mane with no problem.
I didn't read I didn't have time to read Robin Wood's commentary, and her commentary on her cards is extensive. I mean, she goes into all the design elements, but to me, it's because of the mischievous look on her face. It's like my grandmother used to say, "You train a man like you train a dog." Well, I think she's training this lion is like a man. You know, she's doing the savage beast, as it were. You know.
And then look in the upper right corner, we've got oak leaves from an oak tree coming from an acorn. So inside of the acorn, you've got that mighty strength in a tiny little acorn seed. But in the end, it grows and grows and grows and grows like our inner strength. And it goes into this mighty oak tree.
That's awesome.
That's a great way. Yeah. I love it.
Oh my God, Kurt, the Tarot of Dreams.
Yeah, that's I this came from a tarot sampler, so I don't actually have a virtual deck of this, but after seeing this card, I think I'm gonna have to get the app for this, because that is a beautiful card, and you know, and I'm partial to the Hebrew letters and everything. Of course, we know this is Shadowscape.
Yes, and I pulled that book I have. I didn't pull any cards today, but that book I have in front of me She goes into just the simple things like soft control, tempered force, courage, calm composure, patience, compassion, persuasion with the soft control, managing your impulses of anger and force rather than allowing them to manipulate you, having faith in success, though it might not come at once and it might not come easy. The lion guards the what does it say? The lion is fierce and the fire he guards is a flame that burns. Your strength must be tempered. Unshakable resolve. This is the part that I wrote in my notes. Unshakable resolve is what will see you through to the desired end. And then she goes on with another paragraph.
So if you remember, CJ, the card that both you and I got from the Ganesha Oracle was steadfastness, which is the same essentially as unshakable resolve. I mean, it means the same thing.
Yes.
So although there is also a courage card in there is also a courage card in the Ganesha Oracle, but the steadfastness is you're going to have the resolve to stick this out regardless of what it looks like from the outside, but inwardly you have the resolve to stick to your path.
That middle card is just gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. That is beautiful. And like his decks, the guy that does this, like they're all more expensive than the other ones from that app from Fool's Dog. But now I can kind of, I mean, it's beautiful. Like it's
I'm interesting that I thought it was interesting that he didn't choose a lion, he chose a tiger, which are two different animals.
Right. And we're gonna see some different ones here. That I don't know if he chose the tiger for an aesthetic reason.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Like I can tell you, if my mom saw that, she'd fall in love with it and be like, that's, my mom used to collect white tiger images.
Is this the light seers?
On the far right, yeah. And I just noticed the whole lion and lamb.
Yeah, lion and lamb. She's got the infinity symbol tattoo. She's got the heart on her as a talisman. And it's almost like you see that where it says you have to temper that force, like she's having to do that from that inner strength within herself.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, the lion lays down with the lamb, of course, is the biblical, allusion. And so the idea is that that strength is peace and vice versa.
Yeah.
That true peace comes from a place of strength. Or true strength comes from a place of peace. Yeah. And peace of the heart. Peace, yeah, because she's got the heart necklace. That deck is just so that's such a wonderful deck.
The Light Seers, it is.
Yeah. CJ got me hooked on it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful deck.
Yeah.
Like, I think Denise got us hooked on it.
Yeah. I think that was one that,
Denise, we're gonna fire you today, okay? Because I'm not bringing in enough money.
That will change.
Everybody, okay, Denise. And next Tuesday is CJ's birthday.
Oh, CJ.
Okay, but there's some sad news. I was really excited that I would get to spend it with you guys and we could kind of celebrate together. But my Goddess Wife School is ending this week and she's throwing in a bonus session. And the bonus session is, guess what? Right in the middle of our Tarot Zoom.
Well, that's fine, but maybe we can eat. Maybe I'm getting a government check, so maybe we can each get you a deck or something. I'm not gonna tell Denise to spend money, but maybe I'll get you a deck. I don't know. You just bought one, so I can't get you the.
Here's what you need to do. You need to start building, if you haven't already, a separate wish list with tarot decks.
There you go.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a tarot. do a tarot wish list, and you can send it to us.
Yes. Send it to us, and then Kurt and I can conspire.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can conspire.
yeah.
Wow,
That's
full moon cycle of Gemini. That's interesting.
That's from the Journeys into Egypt deck, which is a really fascinating,
Did you
fascinating
buy
deck.
that deck?
I did.
That's
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's one of the ones that if you were to get the physical deck, it's hella expensive. The
Yeah.
virtual deck is like $5, but the
You
yeah,
didn't buy the physical deck?
I did not. I bought the
Oh, okay.
virtual. She is the one that she also did the Ma'at tarot, and she has a new one out that's Egyptian astrology.
Oh,
Um, and I love the strength as the elephant.
And look at the softness and the beauty in the eyes.
Reminds me of Lord Ganesh. I mean, that's what it
Exactly.
just yeah.
That is gorgeous. Endurance. I like that word, endurance.
endurance. I like the key. I like that too. Well, and grit, endurance, grit.
And then the woodword is from the
Celtic or pagan deck.
Wildwood deck,
Yeah.
and he's got a lynx, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
it's interesting. Over the past, like, I guess 10 or 15 years or however long, there's been a new embrace among European and American tarot and pagan folks to sort of embrace a European shamanism as opposed to the Native American, strictly the Native American shamanism, because you have like the Wildwood Tarot, there are Celtic, specifically Celtic shaman decks and oracles. Um, there's like a book, Wild Magic, that's Celtic shamanism, and then of course Celtic shamanism books and so forth. I think it's interesting. And then there's the whole shamanistic aspect of Nordic paganism as well. Now I don't even know where to begin because I didn't have time to really read it, but I don't even know where to begin to talk about this. This is from
So-
Rachel Pollack,
Yeah.
The Shining Tribe. Uh, Obviously it's a lion.
Mhm.
So is that, I'm just gonna say it, is that like a vagina?
That's what it looks like to
Yeah, it
me.
looks like that to me too.
Yeah, yeah.
And sort of.
Well, and so I have to relate that to my goddess wife school. So this work I've been doing in this workshop, Denise, I haven't talked to you about it, but
Yeah.
part of the work is, and is this a safe place where we assume that this is all adults here listening?
Yes, it is. We are recording though, so I mean, I don't know what you want to share and what you don't. I can pause the recording.
Well, it would be great to be part of the recording
Oh,
if
okay,
this
okay.
isn't for children.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not for children.
Okay, so part of what we've been studying and part of what she has us do is things like, and I don't mean to be vulgar, it's magical. It's like touch your pussy and not in a vulgar, like
Oh,
pornographic
yeah.
way.
Right.
So like to feel your power, to feel into your power. Like I'm just talking placing your hand there. Like just, I'm not talking doing any manipulation.
Right.
And it's about softening. It's about feeling into your power. We call it our pussy power, our pussy magic. And wow, this speaks to me hugely. And that's totally what the strength card is about.
what I've read of Rachel Pollack, she would be like what I've read, like I read her goddess book and everything, and she would be all about that. She
Yeah.
would be all about that.
So that's what I see this card as. And
Yeah.
it's soft, yet it's so blanking powerful.
Yeah,
Like,
but I mean,
like an ecofeminism kind of.
yeah, the vagina is like in coming out of the earth mound, and then the roots of the tree are coming down into the earth, so the tree is anchored into the earth, and then the top of the tree.
Into that power
Yeah.
that's just that power that is innate in all of us.
Well,
And then
and
those
the idea
look
that
like,
the earth is feminine, the earth is
yeah,
Yes.
Gaia, right?
Yes. Mother Earth.
Mother Earth.
and then at the bottom, I don't know if those are supposed to be colored eggs or standing stones or what, but possibly colored eggs, or even if they're
Well,
colored
that would be
stones.
something to read because I'd like to know the answer to that too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then I'm not familiar with the myth of Samovila, obviously Slavic goddess. I like that she has a bear. I thought that was
Yeah.
that was cute. Um, and
And
then
her
there's-
stance is that firm power
Oh, yeah.
stance, but her
Yeah.
face is soft. She's not coming from a place of anger or force. She's
Mhm.
grounded.
Okay, yeah, and that's what you have here too, the grounding with the roots, and yeah.
Mhm.
I love that there's a bear here. I mean, I imagine that the folklore probably involves a bear, perhaps. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, but you still have the same fierceness, right? In order to be able to, and yeah, exactly. I don't know. I just love it. I love that. It's a nice kind of
This is a
variation.
very like for on Amazon, this deck is $34. It's like that's such a great deck, but man, just like the Dark Goddess Tarot, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we just paid 27 plus tax for the other one.
True. That
You're
is true.
almost there.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
I'm loving this next card because my dad used to shoot javelina, and I have a necklace, God rest his soul. I have a necklace of javelina teeth that were from the javelina that he killed and we ate.
Oh, wow.
Well, and there are javelina. I don't know if now, but because I've now been at A&M San Antonio almost 5 years. But when I first went out there in the evening, when it would get dark, and I would be waiting on the bus often, as it was getting darker, even afterwards, and the javelinas would come out, like you would
Yeah.
see them. Oh yeah, they would come out.
Well,
Yeah, and
Oh my God.
yeah, they like right up to the building, like right up to the buildings.
yeah, and it's really interesting because they apparently are large. Some
Oh
of them.
yes. Oh
They
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I don't know where our pictures are, but I used to take pictures with them when he'd bring them home, and they're big.
They're big.
And-
So my best friend, she lives out in Helotes, and she she looked out the window one day in her front yard, and there was a big old, javelina just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
hanging out, just kind of doing this thing. And it's like, she's, I don't have to go anywhere anytime soon, right? So she let it they finally just sort of did their thing. It was more than one. I think it was like two or three of them. And then she finally went out, a little while after she didn't see them. And she looked down the street, and they were just sort of trotting down the middle of the street.
And they're arguably potentially more aggressive than a lion. I mean, or as aggressive as
Yeah.
a lion. I mean,
Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness. I had a colleague in graduate school who got a teaching gig at one of the University of Arkansas and some, smaller town, and had to rent a place sort of sight unseen, and showed up, and it was basically a trailer house out in the country. And she drove up, and there were javelinas all around it.
Wow.
And
So-
that's when she pulled back and she's like, oh no, I'm going to hotel instead, and then looked for another place, right? Because she's like, I don't think I can do this out in the country in a trailer with the javelinas coming up. Yeah. So she's like, nope. She's from Gary, Indiana. She's like,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
she's like, nope.
So Kurt, what deck is that?
Druidcraft.
Druid Craft. Or is that usually in our gallery?
Yeah, it is. That is the deck that had the Empress card, or the Green Woman card
Oh,
that
yeah.
you liked so much.
So what I'm
Yeah.
noticing in this card is when you look at that javelina, he is so calm and tamed. You look at her sword on the ground behind her, so she doesn't need
No,
brute
she doesn't.
force. And she's not even holding the javelina. Her fingertips are touching him.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's yeah.
You know, and I see a nice air of confidence in this.
You know what that makes me think of, what you're describing, is that scene in Color Purple where she finally where Celie finally leaves Mr. and she turns around and puts her fingers up and curses him,
Yeah.
you know, and it just scares the living shit out of him, you know?
Right. So I like her on her face. I mean, she's just very confident. She's neutral from all emotion, which is when you come from that place of inner strength, you have to go back, like we were talking about Denise, reacting versus responding.
Right.
She's definitely not reactive.
And it's interesting you pointed out the sword. It's just like with the Hercules card.
Yeah.
The
Swords were on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I saw blood all over him, almost like there was blood on his arms, almost like he had used the sword, and I could swear there was blood on the swords. And
yeah.
Because Hercules, I guess, would come from more of a forceful place, I guess. Oh, here we go. Yay! Yay! Look at that card, you guys.
Yep.
That's my card.
And I did find, so there is a new tarot tome out now called Tarot Deciphered. It is sold out on Amazon completely. It's like close to 800 pages. It's like 600 plus pages long. It's by the person that created the Tabula Mundi deck.
Okay.
And it's a book.
It's a book.
And it's sold out.
It's sold out on Amazon. It's the #1 bestseller in tarot books on Amazon. It's only been out like a week or 2 weeks.
So for those that are watching this, we're talking about that very first card, Lust. That's Tabula Mundi.
Yeah, this is the Tabula. The very first card is Tabula Mundi. She also did this deck, so they're companion decks.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just in love with that I like the other one, but I'm in love with that Tabula Mundi. Now, what we haven't seen before, except in was it the Wildwood one? He had a cup in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen the cups before until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't, and I did again. I did not read up on these, but they're drawing very, very strongly on the Thoth tarot tradition, the Aleister Crowley's tradition.
Okay.
And they're numbered 11, not 8, because in Rachel Pollack actually explains that in the like old, traditional tarot before Edward Waite, the strength was number 11. So
there's like multiple infinity symbols, and then I guess the snake is where you tame those base desires.
Well, and remember in Tabula Mundi, the snake is feminine energy, feminine power.
There's all kinds of feminine going on here. I
Yeah,
mean, the
yeah,
woman might as well be naked.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Uh,
no, and her
the
hair is the
rose,
same. Yeah, the hair is the same color as the energy
what?
coming out of the cup. And
Yeah, which is that divine color,
she has Isis's wings here.
Isis
Yeah.
wings.
Um, the rose, like
Yep,
that's a vajayjay. Like, I mean,
right.
this is like all,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep,
like sunflower. That, yeah, I mean, actually, it's pretty balanced, masculine and feminine. Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Some flowers. Yeah.
yeah, like,
very beautiful.
and then we have Papa Legba, who, you know,
Mhm.
I always thought of him as kind of a trickster, but
I don't
the
know who Papa Legba is, you guys.
he's a Yoruba African deity who made it over in enslaved the lore of enslaved persons in America.
Yeah.
And basically he I always understood him to be a trickster, but this shows him as inner strength. It talks about his inner strength, him being
Papa
um
Legba, is it Elegba? What?
I
Okay.
think I think it could be either way. I heard it as I always heard it as Elegba, but this is
Legba. Okay.
yeah, but um and I'm
Papa Legba
thinking,
just is that sort of like that's a like that familiar, that sort of like very familiar kind of warm relationship.
mhm.
Uh-huh.
But I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure that he featured prominently in Henry Louis Gates' book, The Signifying Monkey, where talks about
Mhm.
essentially ways of knowing epistemology in the African American uh, community and in history, and such that the idea of, in comparing like not transfer of knowledge to in like in jazz, when a jazz musician, you know, uh essentially copies somebody else, it's not considered bad or anything like that. It's considered uh, um, a salute to that person, you know. So you kind of just, you take it and you do something different with it, and it becomes transformed. And so Papa Leg was kind of, can be associated with that tradition. But if you think about that, if I'm even on the right page here, thinking about Henry Louis Gates, but if you think about that in terms of inner strength, it kind of fits in the sense that you've got to be able to do all that to get one over on the man, right? To be able to be, you know, um, to maintain your strength and so on, maintain your integrity, and to not lose your integrity and your inner strength in a position of being enslaved or oppressed and so forth.
You see those power lines in the back.
I was looking
Yeah,
at those.
yeah. So he's definitely, you know, he's definitely in America. Like he's definitely,
Mhm.
Right.
yeah.
I wonder what those plants are.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I was just curious.
I like him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I did
I
too.
want him in my life.
that is a really nice, I mean, really nice
Well, and
drawing.
I think you're right. The Papa Legba may be that sort of um, ancestors who are in the U.S., right? They sort of renamed him as this kind of very approachable deity,
Yeah, yeah.
as opposed to Ilegua, who may have more. I mean, maybe less so, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I got into this conversation today with the young woman who cleans my apartment. Her roommate is native, like, is a Native American, and her roommate believes that certain types of divination or certain types of magic belong to certain indigenous peoples, and you really shouldn't touch it unless you're of that group. And what I said was that if you do, you should do it with the utmost respect and reverence for
Thank you.
that with, and I gave the example of, like when I lived in Denton, 20 years ago, there was this white dude named Ra. He called himself Ra, which is problematic in and of itself.
Right.
But he would do quote unquote sweat lodges and charge people money, to do sweat lodges. And of course, that native people picketed his ashram, and and he wondered why, why they, why these, but yeah. So I mean, it becomes problematic when one
Exploits it.
yeah, and also if somebody tries to white splain somebody's tradition to somebody,
Yeah.
like,
So what deck is the Papa Legba from?
this is the chrysalis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's another $27 deck on Amazon. You should put that on your wish list.
My
CJ.
wish list only has one deck, so y'all can go in together.
Oh, what is it?
Come on, Kurt.
The
yeah.
Tabula Mundi?
Uh-huh.
It's okay. That one is 50 something. So
We can both. Well,
yeah, we can go in on it. We can get it on
Go in on it
PayPal.
too. I'll go in on it too.
No, it's
No,
your
this is
birthday.
your
You don't need to
birthday.
go in on it. She actually got to see it because I had somebody pay me back some money, so I actually had, in my PayPal account. So I'm like, oh, technically this will only cost me $12 because I have this PayPal
Exactly.
credit. So
Exactly.
yeah, but and then here comes the CJ card. This is CJ in 30 or 40 years.
No
y'all.
shit. Oh,
This is
yes.
CJ.
I'm running on the river.
Yeah.
Every day.
Or I think this might be male, so this could be, someone emulating you.
yeah.
But still,
That's a woman.
oh, that is a woman. That is
That's
you're
a
right.
woman.
She is a woman. Yeah. She even had, yeah. Okay, she is a woman. So this is the second card in this deck that's exactly CJ.
So
The other
what
one,
is
the other
this?
one was the Hierophant, I believe, where she was on the phone and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
had
Oh yeah, that's right.
she had the laptop.
So
and
is
she had
this
the phone.
the as above card?
So below.
This is the So Below. And then
So below.
this I thought was awesome. This is Gawain, Sir Gawain. And of course, we know Sir Gawain from Gawain and the Green Knight. But he's all about courage because he's gonna, face certain death, just because it's the right thing to do. And so on. And I thought this was a really great interpretation. This is really interesting interpretation of strength. This is an image that we usually see with the magician, but she has it with strength. And it's interesting that this is a CJ thing too, because this is the physical, right? This is the spiritual. So this is what's going on in the physical, running on the river. This is what's going on in the spiritual. So this is, get ready. This is what magical is happening today.
Yes.
See?
So which one is which?
So this, I'm sorry, you can't see me pointing. So this one
One
is
on
the physical. This is the physical, the So Below, the physical.
So
the one on the left.
This is what everyone can see. So they see you running on the river and stuff. This is what's happening in the spiritual. Yeah. So it's all magic, but people can't see unless they're cued in, or you cue them in. They can't see this. But
okay, well that set is going on my wish list.
Good, because that's actually an affordable set. If it's in stock, it's affordable, because that set is like 34 or something like that. But if you bought those decks separately, not in the set, they're $24 each. So it's like a no-brainer. You gotta buy buy them together. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's a really beautiful concept. I love it.
Yeah, and like Barbara Moore has done so many decks, but that double deck.
And when people read with that double deck, and I don't know if anyone else in our tarot study group has this double deck, but that will be a question I will pose. I want to know, do they read with only one of the decks, or do they mix them together and read with a double deck?
There are in the book, in the book that comes with the set, there are spreads that use both decks. Now I don't
But
know
does
if
that
they,
mean you mix both decks
I
together,
don't think
or
I
you're
don't think
using?
so. I think part of the spread is with one deck and part of the spread is with another. So you can kind of I haven't looked at the spread, but probably it's like, okay, here's your what's going on in the physical.
Yeah,
Here's what's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on
You know me, I'm messy and raw and real and authentic, and I want
But
to
you
just
know
I want to
that's
mix
fine.
all the paint colors together and paint with it all.
If you want to read with a 140 something card deck, you
Go
know,
right
then,
ahead.
then that's
You can read from, yeah, you can pull.
Because it would be
Yeah.
interesting in a reading that you're doing on a specific topic,
it could, yeah,
if the same card from
absolutely,
each deck
yes,
showed up, that would be a very
yes, it
powerful
would.
message.
That would be a really big confirmation.
Okay, I'm only seeing it in the 2 volumes, volume 1 and then volume 2.
Oh, it's called Book of Shadows.
Oh, the Book of Shadows complete kit.
Yes, that's it.
That's only 30 bucks.
Oh, then it went down. The price went down.
Does it have the cards with it?
Yes, it's got the cards. It's got 2
Complete
decks of
edition,
cards,
2 tarot decks, includes 2 tarot decks.
2 tarot
Oh.
decks, and a book.
That's cheap.
Yep, it's cheaper than when I bought it.
And does it come in a box, Denise?
Yeah, I mean, like not a nice box, but
Not a
box.
10
Yeah.
or something? I thought
Yeah.
it came in a 10 or something.
No, it
Want me to
doesn't come in a
send it
10.
to you so that way, here, I'm gonna put it in our messenger chat,
Okay.
guys, that way. So that should come through. That's
That's-
a beautiful.
And you know, when he first turned me on to that, I was all into it. And then I looked at him and I was like, it just, one of the decks doesn't really do it for me. And I think it's the So Below. And then the more we start studying them, I'm really liking them.
Yeah.
And it's a very me kind of deck.
It's a Llewellyn deck.
Yeah, it's Llewellyn. Barbara Moore does a lot of their decks, and yeah, and she's got like a silver witch deck. She's got all kinds of decks for them. I mean, a lot of people complain about the card stock on the Llewellyn decks, but if you're not shuffling them super hard, then it should be okay. So is there anything else that we need to mention about the strength card?
Well, on the spell casting one, let's look at the spell casting.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe I can make it bigger. Let's see.
no, it's good. So
Okay.
my question is, no, it was perfect the way it was.
Oh,
Can you personally talk about it, Kurt?
well, I didn't do any research on it or anything, but based on what we've said, about the strength card,
It's just all your magic is within. It has to come from within.
right, well, and she's like letting loose this just incredible amount of energy,
Yeah.
and she's pretty focused. I mean, or pretty.
And then
pretty
I'm
open.
noticing the ring, her circle, I guess she cast around her.
She cast it around her, and she is actually in the magician's stance.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
You know, so, and if you recall in this deck, the magician card in this deck is she called the elements. So it's the bringing together of the 4 elements, but it's not till we get to strength, which if we're going by the Rachel Pollack it's not until we get to the end of that first line of cards and the beginning of the second line of major arcana that she's actually casting spells, as opposed to the magician, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. And this deck, the purpose of this deck, and like the Book of Shadows, the whole purpose of it is basically it's encoded Wiccan teachings basically. And so probably, and I haven't read the interpretation of this card, but it's probably that you shouldn't cast spells, quote unquote, until you've reached a certain level of, maturity or that sort of thing. It's probably
so I see the strength in the other one of the woman running. I see the resilience there, that perseverance. But in this one, I'm trying to bring everything we've learned about strength into this spell casting card. And I'm wanting you to do that for me.
Well, okay, I'm going to bring in some like role-playing game concepts to do that. But so in old school, there was an old school role-playing game called Tunnels and Trolls. It was actually the second role-playing game created after Dungeons and Dragons, because the author, whom I've talked to several times, actually, he's a cool guy, but he's an anti-masker and a bunch of other, but he's a really cool guy. Anyway, he in his game, magicians, when they cast spells, it took away their hit points, it took away their strength, their vitality when they cast spells, because the idea was that your magic was actually powered by your personal vitality. And so
but then they would recuperate. Yes?
Yeah, they would recuperate, right? But if we take that concept, the idea of magic being powered by one's vitality, and then we can look at it as one has to have that reservoir of strength to
so that's what's being shown here is her strength, and that's what all this energy is that we're seeing,
right? And actually, and honestly, what we don't know, right? So it could be we could look at it as, the running came before the spellcasting, or we can look at the running as the result of the spellcasting. Maybe, the spellcaster put it out there that, hey, I want to be more fit, and I want to be out there, or maybe she was agoraphobic or whatever it was, and she wants to be, she wants to move.
And what's interesting in the running card is that, do you see all those little red dots and white, like
that's
that force field around her?
Uh-huh.
It's like this bubble around her that's not only magical, but it's giving, like she's exuding, and it's protecting and giving to her at the same time.
Interestingly, too, the dots are the same color as the protective circle.
Yeah, the circle.
Yeah.
So she's protected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this was actually done before. Way before COVID. But I know, you talking about walking on the river walk, and how like so many people aren't wearing their masks and stuff.
Right.
So in essence, she's got on like a spiritual mask. If you will. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. What else about the strength card do we need to say?
Are we at the end of the gallery?
Yeah, we are. I'm sorry. Yeah, we are. And
so we're now entering level 2, basically, if we're going by those. And so I wrote that in my notes, that in level 2, that next set of cards, 8 through 14, were in that search for our true selves. And in order to do that part of the journey, we need courage to embark on that, and courage to look inward, to do whatever shadow work is needed or whatnot, and strength. That's why strength is usually, because depending on what number it is, the initiator of this next level. Whereas the midway point will be balance, balancing of the scales with justice. I wrote down some words for strength based on Rachel Pollack's book. And then I threw in some other books that I have. Force, fortitude, courage, overcoming desire, especially sexual desire. Then we do that overcoming part through trust and self-discipline. Strength through gentleness. Strength comes from within. Self-confidence and follow through. And then I think that this was from Rachel Pollack, something about ecology, human and natural worlds in harmony. We need to appreciate our own strength, being grounded, rooted in the earth. So that's that. What's her name? With the vagina.
That was Rachel Pollack. Yeah, that was from the Shining Tribe. Yeah, yeah.
So rooted in the earth, grounded, able to move into the unknown, but confidently. Because we've learned from the past and now we're grounded while we're reaching for the future. Inner strength, inner quality, feminine, built of self-love and trust. In readings, we think of building trust, showing love, but then on another page I have in a reading, be brave, reassure your querent that they will find the strength they need. Tapping into their own courageous spirit, possibly to face something intimidating. Client will need to use really good manners, maybe in a situation, and put people at ease in order to move things along. I feel like that speaks to you, Denise. Letting your querent or yourself know that they can do this or you can do this, square your shoulders and do your best. Quality allows you to do something not easy, but necessary and in alignment with your higher self. And then we break it apart into 3 parts: strength of mind, strength of spirit, and ability to focus. So there was that last card where she was focused. Love triumphing over hate. I liked that part. Gentleness with feminine passion. And then here we got off into something I'm not well versed in, so you can take this, Kurt, when I read it in my notes. Esoteric tradition, Hebrew Teth equals snake, Kundalini coiled at base of spine, usually sexual, can travel up the spine and transform into spiritual alignedness, with the snake being the life force which gives spiraling energy.
So that's where you get all the snakes in the tabula mundi and so forth, is the Kundalini serpent. And the idea is that there's this energy center at the base of our spine, and if we can access that and we can bring the energy up through the crown of the head, that's when our full potential can be realized, at least what our full potential is in this life, basically. If we can bring that up and maintain it,
Right. Then she says, number 8 can look like a spiral. So that's part of that whole infinity symbol that she's talking about, that it's also that spiral, which relates to that esoteric tradition of the Kundalini. Listen to your own, I liked this, listen to your own animal nature. And then if you're reading for a particular querent, it talked about closeness to animals, like an animal whisperer. If this card comes up like with somebody who's like a vet or a vet tech or works at the zoo or whatever. Hand in the act of grasping and holding. And then I went into 3 different worlds: the divine world, intellectual world, physical world. And when she was talking about the divine world, she talked about principle of all in the divine world. This is the principle of all strength, whether it's spiritual or material. In the intellectual world, when we read it that way, we're talking about moral or force. And then in the physical world, and I don't remember what this word organic was there, but I wrote organic and force as well. Power, high endurance, action, energy. And when she talked about reversals and everything I read in other books, it really tells you to look at other cards around this card that would speak of dangers from reckless behavior, because this, like,
Right.
yeah.
It'd be the opposite of being focused, basically.
So fear of unknown in self, abuse of power, discord, disgrace, lack of moral force, overbearingness, unchecked desire. And again, she was talking about it, especially sexual, giving in to temptation. So she also said, when you're in a reading, to ask the querent, how do you understand strength? Before you read the strength card for them, like ask them, not how do they understand the card, ask them, what is your understanding of strength? And then from that, we can go into them realizing their own strength, especially in situations where they might see themselves inadequate. If it's reversed, it indicates the querent's need for strength, which they can find only in themselves. You have the ability to do what is needed. And then I spoke to this earlier in our conversations with tapping into your own courageous spirit to face something intimidating. And this isn't reversed, this is just regular upright. Soft control, tempered force, unshakable resolve to see you through to your desired end. Mastering based desires, fearlessness. Reversed, I have weakness, vulnerability, lack of self-discipline, led by urges. And then my own interpretation, if I got it for myself, I might ask myself, what am I afraid of? Where am I acting out of a space of fear instead of a space of grounded confidence? So that was just what my interpretation. And that's all I have.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this was not an expensive book, nor was it, I wouldn't say it's a good book, but I like it. It's short, it's sweet, it's succinct. And I want to say I got it at half price as a new book. And I don't know how long ago I got it, but it's In Focus, Tarot, Your Personal Guide. It says it includes a wall chart. I've never even looked at the wall chart, but this is what the reading, this is the entire reading. So it's simple on the card strength.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing. And then this is one of my favorite books, you guys, that I talked about.
Kitchen table. I've seen that.
Well, she has another book out that I want, and I can't remember what it is now. And so these are the two books I pulled from in addition to Rachel Pollack. But of course, I'd say 90% of that was Rachel Pollack.
So this week, I think actually, Audible released 78 Degrees on Audible.
I wonder if I can get it on overdrive from the San Antonio Public Library.
It's an Audible only, so probably not.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but she does, if you have an Audible account, and I don't think it's Rachel Pollack reading it. I think it's somebody else.
Yeah, it's usually somebody else.
Yeah.
So for next week, you guys, well, I'll say that after we end the recording.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done with the recording. So if anybody's watching, bye everyone.
If you are watching.
Eventually somebody will. I mean, that's the beauty of YouTube. It doesn't go away. So, you know,
Yeah.
somebody could discover this, years from now, and you know,
Oh, yeah.
So, oh, we're still recording.
so good night, everyone. Oh,
Good night, hugs.
Bye.
stop. Yes, I want to stop.